Welcome to the B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast. Hey, we got a great interview today. We're going to be talking about how do you change your whole website, your whole marketing approach, really to be solely focused on your customers and the problems that they're facing and the issues that we run into. And I found this interview very enlightening because it's what I talk about on the sales side, but then I look at my own website and I don't practice it. I got to talk about the problems that my customers, the people who are interested in visiting me want to solve, not just about me and what I do and who I am. I think you have to have that, but the focus needs to be on what they care about, the problem that they're facing and what they want to accomplish. So let's get into this interview. I hope you enjoy it. Please check out the website b2brevenue.com, and I've got a free ebook there on how customers make product selections. And under training, if you're looking for your team to really crush it in 2019. And clearly, email and cold calling is diminishing exponentially. And what does work is the old natural word of mouth, connecting up with people, but it has to be done in a certain way. And nobody teaches this. Everyone thinks it's all tell them about the big customers and close for 15 minutes. And guess what? If it worked, we'd all be doing a lot better. It just doesn't work as well as it used to. And everybody's still teaching what worked 15, 20 years ago. And it is not predictable. It's predictable rejection is what we're moving into right now. And these companies, everyone's kind of struggling. And what I found is a scalable way of doing it with both technology and people that makes financial success for everybody, as well as if you're in the complex sale, how the complex sale really works. So go to b2brevenue.com, look under the training tab, and you can schedule a call with me, a 15-minute call to talk about the courses, or you can just go to the training website. It has 3 components, so it's not just online training. It has the online content, which there's quite a bit of. I have office hours, which is a group one-to-many Q&A every 2 weeks, and I offer one-on-ones, unlimited one-on-one coaching. It's included as long as I can use the content in the course. If you want it private, you can get that also, but that's a cost item. Let's get into the interview. I'll sum it up at the end, and I really appreciate everybody who's been sharing my content on LinkedIn. If you're in sales, make sure you're checking out the Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling podcast, as well as the Sales Questions podcast. Here we go. Hey, Brendon, thanks for joining us today. As a way of getting started, tell us about yourself.
So my name is Brendon Stiles. I live right north of Atlanta in Marietta, Georgia. And I come from a background of being a small business owner. And my first business ever was a wedding business. And our first year, we did an amazing $5,000. And so we were not killing it. And I looked around and I was like, what is going on? Like all these other businesses are killing it. I feel like we've got a good product. What happened? So I kind of dove headfirst into online marketing and what makes people want to become a client and what makes people want to work with a certain company. And I just spent a year diving into that world. And at the end of our second year, we had gotten to 6 figures. And that was great in and of itself. But along the way, I learned something even more important, which is what I help businesses with now, is I loved the art and science of online marketing, specifically focused on creating a great conversion-focused website.
And that's your focus today, is it the website versus any other part of online marketing? Or
so a website's a great place to start. It's like if you want to win a race, there are lots of factors, like a car race. There's lots of factors that go into it. Your track and time of day and wind and all that. But you start with the car. That's the most important thing. And so I kind of like to build a really nice Ferrari type website. And then that gives you the best head start for winning the race. And then the online marketing comes after that because you've already set a great foundation. You've already got a really good starting point.
And what is the process you take your clients through?
For the websites?
Yeah.
So the first thing I love to do is make sure both our goals are in line. So if someone just comes on and they're like, hey, we just want like a nice little business card website that people can go to if they want to. That's not a great fit because, we don't really do that. Like you can get a lot cheaper websites done if that's all you want. So the first thing we do is make sure the goals are aligned. Aligned goals would be we want to use our website to generate more clients. We always like to talk about clients over customers because clients, by definition, are in the care of another person. So we make sure that ideal is aligned as well. So we look for businesses that want to take their website from not performing, not selling for them, not nurturing a lead, and turning any traffic that comes there into potential leads. So how do we do that? There are 5 modules that we place on every single website that addresses different points of a customer's journey, whether they've not heard of someone or whether they love your company and they just want to know how much does this cost me. So that's one of the first steps is figuring out what are those 5 modules. How can we bring every person that comes to your site along, no matter if they're just beginning their search for your service or if they know they want to use you personally but just haven't signed for whatever reason. But then we get into a lot of other stuff. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Is your primary market a service-oriented or is it a product-oriented clients?
Most of the time, it tends to be service-oriented.
Yeah.
And there are a few reasons for that. One, the average, sale per client is a lot higher than if it was a product most of the time. So it's a little bit easier to justify the service, like our service there. But so most of the time it is service-based. Yes, sir.
Okay. And what do you typically find wrong with most websites?
Man, some are not surprising, and then others are. One of the biggest ones is a website that's not mobile ready. And what do I mean by mobile ready? Mobile and a non-mobile ready website means that if you pull your website up on your phone and you got to do a lot of pinching around and zooming, it's not mobile ready. And Google will actually ding you for that. And they will drop you in the search rankings if your website's not that. And it's unbelievable. We're almost in 2019. So many websites that I will encounter are not mobile ready. So that's one of the biggest and kind of easiest fixes that we run into. Now, some of the more subtle ones that people don't think about are what I call client-focused copy. And most of the time you go to a website and what does it look like? It's like, we're the best, we're awesome, we're the greatest. And really, you don't want to be doing that at all. You want to be turning it around and shining the light on your client and saying, you've got this problem, here's how we can help you. Here's something that you could do to get your problem solved. You want your website to be speaking to your ideal client, not about yourself.
Yeah. And how often do you see it, the former, where they're talking just about themselves? Is that ubiquitous or?
Ooh, I would give it seriously probably 95% of the time. It is about what that company can do, why they're the greatest. And that makes sense, right? We see that in advertising all the time.
Yeah.
One slogan, I can't remember the company. It's a really famous company that's out right now, but I think it's a cable company. And their thing is more for your thing. That's our thing. And it just gets me every time because I'm like, man, they were so close. And then at the end, they made it about them again.
Yeah.
But we see that all the time. And we think that because all companies are doing that, that's what works. But it's not. People, when they visit a website, are only interested in one thing. And that's, can this company solve my problem?
And let's maybe take your business. What was the transformation that you went through? And maybe tell us a little bit. Was it photography, wedding photography, or wedding planning, or?
It was live bands and DJs.
Okay.
Actually. Yeah. So the transformation there was the first year I just copied what I saw everyone else doing.
Yeah.
If everyone was like, we're the best band in the Southeast, I was like, cool, I'm in, I'll do that. And what you get after a while, you ever been scrolling through Twitter or Facebook and you're scrolling fast and you see an ad, you know it's an ad, you just keep scrolling past. It's ad blindness. And so what happens is customers get copy blindness, which is when they're like, yeah, that's just kind of a, they're just saying that. They're not really the best band, whatever. So they don't even take time to read your site. So what I did was I looked at all the problems over the first year and the first few clients that we had. and I looked at all the questions they had, and a lot of them had the same kind of questions, like what songs do we pick, or what should a schedule look like. So what we did was we created different downloadable assets that answered all these questions, and that way, when people came to our site, then even if they didn't want to reach out to us yet, they were able to download things that would help them, that would either help them pick out songs or that would help them plan their day. And because of that, not only were they assisted in planning their wedding, but they also trusted us a lot more because they saw that we were really trying to help them, and that if they just wanted to use our particular service, it was just a bonus, really.
And was your service a geographically based service, meaning that you guys were providing the DJs, or was it like an exchange where you were trying to match up demand with supply?
That one was geographically based. So really anyone within the state borders of, at the time, Tennessee, but now Atlanta and like the surrounding states, really kind of a 300-mile radius was our geographical base. So we were already pretty confined compared to what a lot of businesses can do, but we were still able to build to that six-figure mark, and then later on more than that, because we focused on the client and taking care of their needs, answering the questions that they had. It was awesome. It was great.
And so the first thing you go through with your client is to review their existing website and trying to find out what problem they solve.
Exactly. So, like, let's say if you approach me and you're like, hey, we feel like we need to get a new website. Ours is just, and most of the time it's very vague. It's like ours is just not working, quote, not working. So I kind of run it through a progress test that I've, been able to come up with over the years. And it involves a few different things, like looking at their SEO, looking at their page speed, simple things like that, looking at their copy, their offerings, things like that. And you're able to kind of come up with a little scale, a little exam that you can run their current website through. And at the end you say, hey, based off of all the work we've done, here are the problems that I really think can help transform your website into generating a lot more revenue, a lot more clients. And once they're presented with that, we kind of give them three-tiered options of like, here's, the most we can do. And then here's kind of a bare bones, just conversion focused website where, you take care of the photography, the videography, whatever. And kind of lay out a proposal. And then once they pick the tier, we just hit the ground running and we start building. And the first thing we do is we go out and we talk to their existing clients, what they liked about that particular business's service, what they liked about their product. And we get that feedback. And so all of a sudden we've got the company has actual copy that they can use on their website for what people loved, straight from their mouths, like not made up, not just spitting random words out, actual client used copy.
And how long does that process take from the time that you get a contract to do it to the time that you have posted a website? Is it iterative or is it all inclusive?
It does vary, but if I was going to kind of ballpark it, usually about 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the complexity, like how complex the website is. But what will happen is we will kind of, before you even get to coding, you want to have like a design proof, like you want them to sign off on the design, because it's way easier to just mock it up in Photoshop and make tweaks there and then code it afterwards when there's no, back and forth during the actual coding session. So yes, usually what happens first is we'll do a wireframe and say, here's kind of the look we were thinking. Do you like this? If not, what would you change? Things like that. And then once we get design approval, we will actually start coding and implementing all the links and the digital assets and downloads for the company. And so it is iterative. And they'll come back and say, hey, now that we see it on a screen, maybe make a few little tweaks here and there. And it usually goes through about 2 or 3 rounds before it is finally ready for a company stamp of approval.
And what is the key to getting people to convert from unknown to known, I guess, to either register or give their email address?
I think from a high level, really high level, it's just proving as much as you can that you are the right company to solve their problems. So let's kind of put that into example. So let's say let's just use a wedding band example. Let's say I was just got engaged and my fiance and I were looking for a wedding DJ. Well, I've probably never planned a wedding before, or maybe never even a big party before. It might be my first time getting married, so I don't even know how that works. So I'm just looking for all these DJs based off of who comes up in Google first, or maybe from a word of mouth referral, which is the best kind to get. That's where you had the least ground to make up. Or maybe you got on a review website and you just picked the top 3 or 5 that had the highest reviews. So already people are using referrals no matter what, no matter if it's a friend or if it's Google or if it's a review website to start their search. So that's one thing to keep in mind. That's why SEO is important. That's why implementing a review system on your website is important. So when they get there, all of a sudden they're going to be looking for, does this DJ, in this case, fit my needs? And the questions you would need to ask if based on any company are, what needs does a person have that makes them pick, in this case, a wedding DJ? And a lot of times that was not price first, but it was something like, do we get along personally with them? So you could put videos up or interviews of the DJs in your company. It could be like, do they have experience? Well, that's something, you could easily kill that bird with putting out videos of weddings you've done or pictures and testimonials and things like that. So again, that's a little bit lower level. Now, when you get down to the bottom of like what can actually serve a particular person, kind of what you mentioned, like any sort of like downloadable asset for a sales funnel, like download this guide, enter your email, and then you can follow up and start a conversation. Anytime you can start a one-on-one conversation, you're going to have your best chance of success. So that's kind of the last tier we focus on.
And once you have it all up, what are you looking for when they convert? Do you just want an email address, or you want, I guess, as much information as possible?
What we do is we establish, when we first get with the company, we spend a week and we evaluate their baselines now. So let's say if they've got 100 people a week coming to a site and they're getting 2 email addresses and 1 client from it, just to make nice round numbers. Well, 1 divided by 100 means that their clients are converting at a 1% rate for who comes to their website, and that their email list is converting at a 2% rate, right? 2 divided by 100. So we're trying to increase both of those. So we take the before, and then we build the website out, and then we actually spend 30 days after tweaking and watching those conversion rates, like based off of our baseline observations, and making sure that it increases. And if it doesn't, we continue to work for free with that company until we get it to where they and we think it should be. Realistically, everyone wants 100%, but that's just not, you're not going to get every person that comes to your site. But the biggest thing, people can slice the cake any way they want, but at the end of the day, you want to eat the cake, right? So at the end of the day, you want a client that actually probably pays you money for your service, and that would be considered an ultimate conversion. So that's the kind of golden goose that we look for. But you can also judge it off of smaller things too, like email signups before and after, even traffic before and after, time on page before and after. But the one that you're really interested in and why people pay us is to increase their revenue most of the time, or increase their actual paying client base.
And do you focus on advertising as well?
Yes. So that comes kind of after the fact. So it's kind of a two-edged sword. So we'll build the website, and then if the client liked the experience, then we have an ongoing monthly service where it's like a Field of Dreams scenario. It's like, in this case, if you build it, they don't come. It's just that when they do come, there's a really nice baseball field that they can play on and enjoy themselves and come some more. So after we build it, then of course they've got the traffic that they've got coming now, but we can also work with them on a monthly basis to continue to experiment and test and see how much more we can increase their traffic versus like using free traffic methods like any PR, any sort of podcast interviews, any sort of maybe magazine mentions. Those are some easy ones. But also paid traffic sources, like a lot of people think Google AdWords, Facebook ads, things like that. So yes, we actually can work with them on a monthly basis to continue to try and bring in more traffic from there. So it's kind of a cool system. Like it's works for everybody.
Yeah. And what are you seeing most effective as far as getting people to the website from a paid standpoint?
Paid standpoint. I would say most of the time, if you'd asked me about a year ago, I would have been like, oh, Facebook ads. But Facebook's kind of gotten in a little bit of hot water, as I'm sure everyone's heard, with like their ad practices and their information. I like using Google a lot right now. And the cool thing about Google ads is that they're search intent. So Facebook, people just get on there to, escape the day or escape work and get away from business most of the time. But when you get on Google, you're looking for something. And the ads that pop up are going to be relevant to the problem you're trying to get solved, whether that's I want a new website or I want a Joe Pesci shirt. So I like using Google ads just because they are search intent based ads.
But that requires that people are already aware of the problem and are looking for the solution. Have you ever had a client where they're selling a service that people are unaware they have the problem yet?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So that's what we call stage one, or like level one awareness, which is this person might have a problem, according to everyone else in their life, but they don't know it yet. So let's use the example of a plumber. So let's say you've got a house, and underneath your house you have got a pipe that is just leaking out water, but you don't know it, right? Because you don't get under your house every day. So let's say you're browsing around and you get an ad for like top 10 signs that maybe your house might be in trouble, and you watch this video. And all of a sudden the video is like, hey, if your house is really humid, you might have a water leak somewhere. I don't know. I'm just kind of, making that up. You might want to check your basement for leaky pipes. And then you do. So then all of a sudden you're introduced to that problem. Now, what's happened there is that you've seen an ad that you weren't looking around for, you weren't searching for. That is a perfect time to do some sort of Facebook ad or some sort of non-search intent ad. So I do think that a company needs to have ads for every circumstance, whether they're being searched or not. The easiest ones, the easier ones, are obviously the search intent ones, though.
Yeah, because people are in market, and you can be visible to the exact geography and demographic that you want to be. Yeah, and exactly what they're looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they're pretty expensive, aren't they?
Ads?
Especially
they can,
AdWords, yeah.
It can be. It depends on what space you're in, and how competitive that is. Like if you're looking for, or like let's say you're a lawyer in New York City, then you might be looking at $30 per click to your website. Yeah. Now let's say your website converts at 1%, so that means that 100 people come, only one person becomes a paying client. So 100 times 30, you're looking at $3,000. Did I do that right? Yeah. Okay. So you paid $3,000 to get a client. Now it just depends on whether it's just math at that point. Like, is a client worth $50,000 to your firm, or are they worth $500? So yeah, you would kind of have to balance it out with what's like the lifetime value of a client potentially, for sure. But most of them aren't super expensive. A lot of times you can get clicks for a couple dollars.
Yeah. And what's working for you in marketing your service?
So I have tried, we've tried a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Right now, I am kind of we split it up into free traffic and then paid traffic, which you've kind of touched on. Right now, I'm really liking the word of mouth referrals.
Yeah.
Obviously that's kind of the
old school,
I guess, the old school holy grail. But the good thing about that is that when people come to you, the sale has kind of already been made. Like someone's referred them to you and been like, hey, this company's great. They really helped me. I trust them. I mean, it's a way easier sale, if you want to use that terminology, than someone finding you cold on page 4 of Google. But in terms of a harder let's go into like a harder advertising thing. You look at the big ones like Facebook, Google, Twitter, Reddit, LinkedIn, things like that. I still say Google. That's my favorite. It's been the most cost effective over the last 6 months or so. And that stuff's always changing. But right now it's Google.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And do you do any cold outreach as far as sales?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, one of my favorite, like when we first got started, one thing that we would do would be totally cold outreach. We would look around for, I say we, it was me. It was just me at the start. I would look for local businesses that just did not have very functional, mobile ready, responsive websites. That's the easiest one to kill, right? You can tell right off the bat. And I would just make them a short video and be like, hey, I'm Brandon. I live locally. I noticed your website was this. I'd love to help with that. I really think that I can get you more clients. I really think that this process can grow your revenue. Are you interested? Yeah. And the hit rate on that was not bad. And it's around 10% or so. So it's a lot higher than a lot of other advertising and cold outreach techniques.
Well,
I think the key there was
that kind of free audit type thing. We're just pointing out something that you can immediately help them with. That's something that's their problem, and they haven't either noticed it or they haven't escalated it yet.
And again, it's all about them. It's like, here's your business. This is a one-on-one conversation, personalized to you. This is what you could do. This is where you might be weak. This is where you might be strong. If you want help, we can help. So there's like 10 yous and then there's one we.
Yeah, that's key, isn't it? No I's.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Take out all we language, all us I language. Exactly.
Cool. Hey, Brendon, where do people go to connect up with you and learn more about you and your company?
So the best place is brandonstiles.com, and that's BRANDONSTILES.com. And in a couple weeks, we are turning that into an actual like agency type of company. So I will be sending all traffic to a new company-based group website, which we will release the name of later, not because of secrecy purposes, but because we don't have the domain yet. But we've got like the branding and everything set out. But right now, brandonstiles.com.
Hey, I hope that made you think a little. I think we have to think about this in all of our content, not just our website, but the things that we put out. What problem are our customers looking to solve? And how do we communicate that in a clear, concise way to get them to convert? I think that was a great interview. I really enjoyed that discussion. Please check out my website, b2brevenue.com. Follow me on LinkedIn, Brian G. Burns on LinkedIn. I put out videos pretty much every day on marketing and sales topics. Anything that has to do with revenue growth, I'm on it. So check me out there. Also, it's on YouTube as well. If you do Brian Burns Sales Podcast on YouTube, I post them there. Subscribe there if you'd like to focus on YouTube. But hey, I really appreciate everybody's support in 2018. Got big plans for the podcast in 2019. Going to probably up the number of interviews per week. If you'd like to be on the show or you know somebody who would be a great guest, please message me either on LinkedIn or email is briangburns@me.com. And really appreciate everybody's support and telling somebody about the B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast. And we'll see you next year.